Hi, Tamal. Welcome to the Business Standard Banking Show. This week in your column, you've talked about the suicide of our director, Nitin Desai. Now, we've heard of people committing suicide after being in heavy burden of debt before as well. But how common is it that the lenders get sued, and what are the implications of this whole story now?
You have been talking about, yes, suicides for inability to face the debt burden. And very often the banking system is not involved in that. It's basically the money lenders also, or primarily money lenders. And it's, and I think you are mentioning about the farmer suicides, which very common in India. But this is a sort of, in a very different case. It's a corporate loan, you have to remember that. Now, after becoming a defaulter, inability to pay, and then it has gone through NCLT, the entire process has been done. And then this person committed suicide. It's an extremely unfortunate case. And his wife went back, went to the police, and also filed an FIR. And basis that now the police has gone to the court. So we need to see, but prima facie, it looks like all the procedures have been followed, which under the IBC Act, which came in force in India in 2016, what you need to do. And have gone through the NCLT order, etc. So it looks like the gentleman he admitted to default, but then that's it. I mean, it's a very, very unfortunate case. I'm sure there could have been options before him, but I'm afraid I will not be able to tell you how often. A person concerned, I mean, after the suicides, lenders have been taken to court. Honestly, I have not come across any instance so far.
In your column, you've also talked about how the personal insolvency law has not been stabilized. So I just want to get your perspective from the legal side. What are the remedies that are available to both the lenders and the borrowers as well? I mean, how important it is for you think for us to have a strong personal insolvency law?
Looking back, we have got the IBC in record time. It's a very fast it happened. India was the fastest way of getting that insolvency code globally. That's what can happen in India. And you have to see that it followed the so-called AQR asset quality review of Reserve Bank of India, which unearthed sort of the soft underbelly, exposed the soft underbelly of the banking system. Bankers were laden with the huge NPAs, and then the NPAs need to be cleaned up. And then if you didn't have an IBC, how do you do it? That's how the IBC came in. And the famous dirty dozen, that was used by using IBC. And then at the initial stage, the recovery from the banking system was pretty high, but then there have been many hiccups. Like any new law comes in, it's still a process. Meanwhile, what is this personal insolvency that you're talking about? Now, there are two types. One is this, is that even now you can go for personal insolvency, or provided it's a corporate loan. For instance, somebody has given a corporate guarantee. A guarantee for a loan, assets, etc. So that person can go for a personal insolvency. There have been cases, I would not like to name them, but in this case, probably Mr. Desai could not have gone because the assets were there. He was not insolvent as such. And the other part is the non-corporate personal insolvency. Now, IBC is already IBC has already framed the laws for that, and this will not be dealt with with the NCLT. It will be for the DRT, the Debt Recovery Tribunals will do that. But the rules and regulations are yet to be in place. That's a non-corporate personal insolvency. But in terms of a corporate entity, an individual who had given a guarantee for a loan, under the current IBC, that person can go for a personal insolvency.
The July inflation data has exceeded all projections. What is your reading of this, and what is going to be the fallout?
Well, reading is inflation is here to stay. It looks like pretty high. Yes, it beyond all estimate. But primarily driven by food inflation, and food is roughly about 40% in the inflation basket. Now, Reserve Bank of India held on to its policy rate, but it did say that you to keep a very close watch on inflation. It also raised the projection for inflation for the year. Now, will that be enough, or do we expect some additional action from the Reserve Bank of India? For instance, it did the temporary CRR raise. It is done 10% on certain amount. And now, will it continue to have some kind of tightening, or will it go for a rate hike? Those are the questions we are asking ourselves. It looks like, yes, inflation will remain at an elevated level for the next few months, at least in October, September. Because if you read the food baskets, I'm not getting into the items wise, etc. Tomato is one of the things, but it's not the only villain. There are other stuff as well. So it's more we need to I think it's a government's responsibility to address certain issues on the supply side issues, etc., etc. We need to also keep our finger crossed the progress of monsoon, harvesting, etc. The good part of it, the core inflation, which is non-food, non-oil inflation, is coming down marginally. It dropped below 5%. No, if I'm not mistaken, 4.9%. That's a good part. But inflation, food inflation has come with a lot of vigor at this point of time. I think it will stay at an elevated level for the next 2 months as well. But RBI will keep a very, very close watch. I would not expect a rate hike as such, but the rate cut, the end of this cycle, will come much later than we had anticipated. Certainly not in this fiscal year. Probably in the second half of next fiscal year, because Reserve Bank of India has been continuously saying, governors have been saying, that our objective is to get the 4% inflation, not 6%. Our inflation, flexible inflation target is 4 plus minus 2 percentage point. It's between 2 and 6. So he is not willing to, compromise on that 4% part. As long as that is his motive, and I'd like to believe. And also you need to see the election near next year election there. So can he afford to let his guard down and cut the rate, etc.? It doesn't happen, because inflation is always an election issue as well. So our fight against inflation will continue. Probably no rate hike, but the tightening bias will continue, and RBI will find probably newer instrument. Liquidity should not be aplenty in the system.
So tightening has to continue, and that has to be the stance of RBI. And as you said, inflation is something we have to watch out for in the days to come, especially food inflation. And thanks for telling us all about the whole structure of debt resolution and how we have in place systems for corporate insolvency resolution, but for personal insolvency, rules and regulations still need to be firmed up in that area. Thank you so much, Tamal, for joining us today and sharing your thoughts. See you next week.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
I am the blue of the limitless sky. I am the inspiration that led success soar high. I will achieve, I will fly high. I am the I in SBI.
I'm backed by the nation's trusted bank, SBI, the banker to every Indian.